My Main Street is back. We are so excited about the recent launch and intake for applications for this round of the My Main Street program. The focus of today's information session will be the business sustainability stream. We will be recording and sharing this session through our website after we wrap today, and we'll be hosting a second live session next week on Monday, March 4th at 2 p.m. I'd sincerely like to thank those tuning in to today's session and recognize that we're coming from a diverse range of locations in treaty lands. CUI's team acknowledges the location of our head office on the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples. Our work happens across Turtle Island, which has traditionally been and is home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. So we've been receiving a lot of questions and had a lot of interest since our intake opened last week, February 22nd. The intent of today's session is to really provide a general overview of the business sustainability stream specifically. This will include an outline of the steps involved in applying to the program, and we will also review the scoring process and timelines. We encourage you to listen through the presentation, following which we'll have an opportunity for Q&A on general questions. So a brief introduction to the team behind My Main Street 2.0. Myself, Lindsay Webster, I'm the managing director. I've got a fantastic, talented, experienced, skilled group of people behind me. That starts with communications manager Samantha, our business sustainability stream, which will be supporting applicants as they move through the application process. 4 portfolio managers on that side, Aaliyah, Christopher, Christine, and Sho. We also have a complement of our portfolio manager on the community activator side, which is Ramona Gallagher. The Canadian Urban Institute is proud of the work that they do, coordinated research and advocacy when we're looking at main streets across Canada. In the instance of this program, really looking for development and placing value and emphasis in supporting our main streets across Southern Ontario. We understand the connection to the health of our economy, social life, vitality of our neighborhoods and cities, and the actions that we can take to guarantee their vibrancy, survival, and thriving nature. So My Main Street 2.0 is a continuation of the My Main Street programming that has happened over the last couple of years. This iteration is a $15 million investment from the Government of Canada through the Federal Economic Development Agency for Southern Ontario, more commonly referred to as FedDev Ontario, to spur local economic recovery. So My Main Street is delivered by the Canadian Urban Institute, and it is really meant to support the revitalization of our neighborhoods across Southern Ontario. The program features 2 streams, the business sustainability stream that we're going to be talking about today, which will provide non-repayable contributions of up to $20,000 to eligible Main Street businesses that apply with a case on how the funding is going to strengthen their existing capacity and support their growth. The community activator is the complementary stream to this program. On the other side, it will provide support of up to $250,000 for local high-impact placemaking projects and activations. That includes events and festivals, community enhancements, streetscape improvements, all really designed to draw visitors and increase local vibrancy. So the term Main Street represents the commercial and community focal point of a neighborhood. They really are offering community residents access to shops, services, culture, and more. We approximate at CUI, we've got about 5,300 main streets across Southern Ontario that qualify for this program. That's on the basis of employment, business and service density, and other sets of parameters that we've built into our data set. Eligibility of main streets for this program has been determined through a data framework. So this is something that's been created by the Canadian Urban Institute. Applicants can actually directly enter their business's address into our Measuring Main Streets mapping tool via our website. You can see the URL right there, and they'll be able to determine if they're located on an identified eligible main street. While our methodology is very comprehensive, communities and main streets are very nuanced and uniquely characterized in each individual community. So in cases that are outlying, not identified as eligible main streets, you can bring a case forward to our team through our email, business@mymainstreet.ca. And we will analyze those situations using the set parameters against visual inspection of that main street. So where a case can be reasonably made for a specific main street to become eligible, the mapping tool is being updated to identify that eligibility. So with that, I will send it over to my colleague, Aaliyah.
My name is Aaliyah Boss, and I'm the portfolio manager, one of four. Each of us are designated to a certain region. As your applications come in, they will be divided amongst our four portfolio managers. And I will give you a quick overview of the Business Sustainability Program. The My Main Street Business Sustainability Stream will provide a range of business supports to approved Main Street business applicants. Supports include custom market research reports, business training opportunities, and non-repayable contributions of up to $20,000. Supports will be available for businesses located on eligible main streets, which you can use through our mapping tool, across Southern Ontario that demonstrate their sustainability and provide a business case on how the funding will strengthen their existing capacity and support their continued growth. Applications have been open since last week, February 22nd, 2024, to midnight on March 31st, 2024. We are hosting information sessions this week and next week, where we will provide you the overview of the intake process, provide guidance on developing a project application, and outline helpful tips for completing the application process. If you have any other further questions, please refer to our email, which is business@mymainstreet.ca. So we have stream features. As I mentioned, in terms of the Business Sustainability Program, we will be offering non-repayable contributions so that businesses can apply for up to $20,000 in non-repayable funding to support growing their business, available in $5,000 increments. We'll also be providing market research report. Approved businesses will receive a customized market research report, which will highlight key social and demographic insights related to their Main Street local customer base. Third is our online business training. Eligible businesses can access a range of online training. They're on-demand videos focused on helping entrepreneurs start or grow their Main Street businesses. The on-demand training videos are upcoming. And I'll pass it on to Chris now.
Great, thanks, Aaliyah. So I'm going to go over some of the eligibility criteria. And so businesses must have a bricks and mortar location to be eligible, and they must be located on a main street. And so just to dive into that a little bit more, of what a main street is for the purposes of the program. So typically we're referring to downtown main streets, usually historical in nature, typically pedestrian centric, and usually we're thinking double-sided with local shops on the street level rather than car-centric roads that would feature more plazas or malls or big box stores. And but it does look a little bit different by community, from urban to rural. So if we think of some of the larger cities, if we think of Toronto, for example, there would be more than one street identified downtown as a main street for this program. And so some examples would be if we think of segments of Yonge Street or Queen, College, Dundas, and Bloor, among others. And a little bit outside of downtown, you would also have the Danforth and the Junction considered as main streets. Now, if we think of Ottawa, for example, you would have segments of Sparks, Bank, and Elgin, among others. And a little outside of downtown, you would also have Somerset or Preston as examples. So we really encourage you to use the mapping tool to sort of identify whether your business is on a main street or not for the purposes of the program. And then also in rural areas, a main street may only be a block or two, so it can be quite small compared to the urban examples. But we do typically exclude areas where you would perhaps have a handful of businesses around a single intersection. And then to go through some of the other criteria that we have here. So the business must employ 1 to 50 employees. That's including the owners. So often there is a single owner, but sometimes there's multiple owners. We would consider each owner an employee. If the business has, let's say it's a single owner with no employees, that would count as one employee for our purposes. The business must pay commercial property tax. It must be a registered business, and the owner or owners must be residents of Ontario. And then there's other criteria here that you'll be able to read through. It's also available on our website, but we'll move forward. So in terms of what an ineligible business would be for this program. So distributorships and franchises are ineligible. That includes those that are independently owned and operated. Businesses that are operating within a shared workspace, such as a hot desk or a dedicated desk, co-working space would be ineligible. Consulting and professional service businesses are ineligible. And so what we mean by that is businesses that are B2B in nature or business to business. An example would be a consulting firm or a marketing firm where the client is not an end consumer, it's another business. So we are looking for B2C businesses in terms of what would be eligible. I bring that up because we have been asked, for example, if a physiotherapist or a dentist, which in other contexts might be referred to as a professional service, is that eligible? In our case, for the purposes of the program, it is, because those are examples of B2C businesses. Okay, and then businesses that are purely online, so they do not have a physical location, would be ineligible. Part-time or seasonal businesses, so businesses that do not have a permanent location or do not run full-time year-round would be ineligible. So we're looking for full-time businesses. And then anything that isn't a business, so a government-owned entity, a social service provider, a nonprofit or not-for-profit would be ineligible for this program. Okay, and then we're going to go over some of the eligible expense categories, or all of them, I should say. So these are the categories for which expenses can be requested in the application. So the first one being equipment. Some examples of that would be, if you think of a bakery, it could be an oven. For a coffee shop or a cafe, it could be an espresso machine. We've also had the example of a 3D printer or a custom printing shop in the 1.0 iteration. So those are some examples of equipment. Leasehold improvements would also be eligible. And some examples of that would be, say, like a new cash desk or new shelving in a store, or new lighting as well, are some examples. External facade renovation. So typically that would be the signage that's displayed outdoors and street facing. For inventory, we're looking specifically for new inventory. So inventory is not meant to be used as a category to restock existing product lines or inventory that the business typically sells. So this would be specifically for proposing to introduce new product lines for sale. The next category that's eligible is technology, and some examples in that would be computers, point of sales terminals, camera equipment, and associated software. So that can be very case by case, but it has to be supported by the business project proposal. So I want to make an important point here that just because something can reasonably fit into one of these categories in terms of being eligible, it also has to be justified in the application in terms of what the project is and supported with justification. So, for example, if a camera is requested, but it's not reasonably supported by how that would be implemented in an appropriate marketing strategy in terms of using that camera to produce, let's say, social media content or other types of content for marketing, then it may not be approved, even though that would fall within an eligible category. So it's a little bit more nuanced than just whether something falls in the category or not. And then we also have marketing campaigns. So this is specifically referring to marketing campaigns that are associated with the project that's being proposed in the application. So if there's marketing expenses that would be part of that project, then they could be eligible. And for businesses that have only been open for under a year, we would consider funding their lease expenses, but not for businesses that have been operating for over a year. Okay, and then we have quite a list of ineligible expenses. I'll go through some of the ones that are most commonly asked about, and you'll be able to read the remainder. So really common ones, purchasing land is not eligible. Construction, so constructing a new building would not be eligible as an example. Using the funds to cover overhead costs or regular operating expenses would not be eligible. So it has to be part of a project that's specifically being proposed in the application. That would be new, that has to be approved and then would be a new project. You can't use the funds to purchase a vehicle. And this is an important one. The funding cannot be used to pay for staff wages, even if that staff is associated with the new project proposal. The funding cannot be used to pay for staff wages. And then the funding can also cannot be used for, let's say, legal fees or fees that are associated with required licenses or permits to operate. And so those are some of the most common that examples or sort of types of expenses that we get asked about. I'll also point out, because I've been asked quite a few times, a very particular example. So paving or repaving a driveway would not be eligible. So really the simple answer to what's eligible and ineligible is just it's eligible if it fits into one of those eligibility, the eligible expense categories. It's ineligible if it's not in one of those categories. With the point I made earlier that just because it's in one of the eligible categories, it still needs to be sort of reasonably justified by the application project proposal. Okay, and then how to apply. So we have the mapping tool. I think we'll take a look at it right now. Okay, so here's the mapping tool. You'll be able to enter your business address in the search bar. And so right now we're searching a business that's located in King Street West in Kitchener. So that's a main street in downtown Kitchener. And you'll notice on the left side panel at the top, there's text indicating that this address is eligible. So when you type in your address, it will indicate whether your business is eligible or ineligible in terms of whether that address coincides or relates or lines up with the streets that we've identified. Okay, so that's the first step. So check your address on the map. Okay, and then the next thing is we do have an applicant guide available on our website. So from the homepage, you can click on business sustainability and you'll find the applicant guide on that page, and that will contain much of the information or all of the information we're covering here today, as well as some more detail around these things. And it's a document that you can refer to as you're writing your application. So make sure you're familiar with that. It'll have all the eligibility criteria if you need to go through it again. So then the actual forms that we require as part of this, the application submission. So there are two forms. There is an application form, which is a downloadable PDF form that's fillable. And we are using that form to capture the written responses. So there's questions that require written response. And then we have an online submission form, which includes questions that are mostly drop downs. And so the completed application form, so the PDF form, needs to be attached to the submission form. There's a field within the online submission form to attach it. And then once everything's completed, you'll be able to just click the submit button on the online submission form. Okay, and I'll pass it off to Sho.
Thank you, Christopher. So the required documents here are the first step being completed application form. We provided a link here again. What this requires are copies of business registration. So this looks like letters of incorporation, partnership agreement, or the master business license. A verification of commercial property taxes. This is a copy of a commercial tax bill or lease agreement highlighting its inclusion of rent. Also some proof of the existing storefront. So a photo would be required for our verification process. Application timeline, briefly going over this, applications will be submitted online through the My Main Street website before March 31st. We've highlighted here, the submission of an application is not guarantee of funding. It's important to consider that the deadline is March 31st and we are moving as fast with our intake process. So it again is a highly competitive application process. Applications will be assessed on a rolling basis. Successful applicants will be notified between April 1st and May 30th of this year. And if information is missing or incomplete, the application and those attachments will be returned with a notification to the applicant. And those resubmissions will result in a new submission for the application. Few steps of the application assessment here we've guided. Applications to the business sustainability stream will be confirmed for eligibility and evaluated based on this following criteria. So in relation to their identified business need, their business model overview, proposed use of those funds, the goals and objectives of the proposal and how they'll be measured, their impact on the main street. A little bit about this is just how their business is functioning and providing an overall impact in their local area, their improvements to business productivity, the impact on increasing job innovation and creation, project impact on business sustainability and the long-term business strategy, and capacity of resource analysis. Once these applications have been scored, they'll be assessed for equitable regional distribution, rural distribution, and distribution to those traditionally underrepresented and equity deserving groups. Payment and reporting. Once all those required documents have been submitted and verified, those approved will receive their initial advance of 50% of that total contribution, with that rest 50% holdback, as that first initial 50% will be done within their interim report, and we will review that with those supporting documents. Participating businesses will also need to submit a final report once all those funds have been expended. In this final report, we will be receiving those payments. The non-repayable contribution recipients will be required to show proof and submit information on their expenditures for the portfolio managers to review and verify. And the program requirements will generally, those applications that have been scored against the project evaluation criteria, CUI will then finalize the decision process factoring these requirements listed here, the funding available for the program year, and the allocation of 25% of those funding will be related with populations less than 100,000. We are focusing 25% being rural communities and also majorly 50% being for those equity deserving groups. Ensuring additional consideration, again, is given to those traditionally underrepresented, and regional distribution of the program funds, meaning Southwestern Ontario will be covered, City of Toronto and Eastern Ontario. And now we will open up the floor for questions where Christopher and I will manage the Q&A, and Lindsay will verbally answer some of those following questions that have been asked throughout the presentation. And please contact our business at mymainstreet.ca for any specific and unique cases to your business inquiry, and we will follow up with you that way.
A number of questions that have been submitted here, so thank you very much for submitting those. We're going to cover as many as we can. If your question is unanswered or spurs further questions, please feel encouraged to reach out to us at the email listed here on the screen, business@mymainstreet.ca. Those email submissions will be triaged directly to your assigned portfolio manager on the basis of the region that you're located in. We are managing the catchment of Southern Ontario with 4 portfolio managers who are regionally assigned. So send your email into that address right there, and you will be redirected to your portfolio manager. Okay, so common theme that we've definitely been hearing and receiving is around the identification of eligible main streets. So let me just reiterate the Measuring Main Streets mapping tool that is up on our website. It is a comprehensive tool. It has a set of parameters by which we have identified based on a set of parameters, both for urban and for rural areas. However, we identify that there are potential gaps in the map. And where those exist, where you think those exist in your community, we are encouraging you to please contact us with the street in question. We'll basically do a visual inspection via Google Maps, reach out to our local intermediaries in your community, have some consideration on your unique situation, recognizing that communities and main streets are very nuanced and can be uniquely characterized by different communities. we will then get back to you as to whether or not we can provide an eligible identification to that main street. The map will be updated, and you will receive an update from our team. Some questions that we've received on the MMS application form. Some technical difficulties that folks have been experiencing with the fillable PDF. If you are experiencing any problems with the PDF, it's not been fillable for you, or you don't have the software needed to fill out the PDF, please reach out to us and we will provide a Word doc or another method that you can submit that form. So we have a question here about eligibility for recipients from the previous My Main Street round. You are eligible to apply as a previous recipient. Priority will be given to new applicants to this program, but you certainly won't be precluded on the basis of having received the contribution in past rounds. So we definitely encourage you to apply. There is a scoring matrix that we've built out in evaluating and assessing the criteria here. And while we say priority will be given to the recipients, it's not going to make or break your application. Is it possible for businesses to get access to the online learning, even if they don't get the funding? Yes, we will have our training sessions on the website from the previous round. Those can be accessed publicly, so any business owner can certainly benefit from tuning in and watching those webinars. We encourage you to do that. I've been asked if this is taxable. These contributions are not taxable. Can expenses be incurred prior to the application being approved? Yes, we can retroactively fund expenses back to December 2023, December 1st, 2023. What I'll say with that is you will need to substantiate those purchases and expenses by providing receipts, proof of purchase. So you need to ensure that those are on file and part of the approved purchases that you're including in your application. I'm an owner operator. Do I qualify for this program? Yes. Sole proprietorships do qualify for this program. We're looking for businesses that employ 1 to 50 individuals. How many applications have we received up to this point? So we're just shy of 100 applications received on the business sustainability side. We do encourage folks to get their applications in as early as possible. We evaluate on a rolling basis, so we will be assessing as we are accepting applications. We won't be announcing any approvals until the program application close happens post March 31st. Applicants will be notified the results of their application between April 1st and May 30th. Will you be sending the slide deck? We will be sharing a presentation. Yes, we will provide a polished version of this presentation and have that available on the website. So I have a question here about the breakdown of the expenditures. It does not have to be one single purchase. You can have a range of purchases as long as they are all eligible. The application and the total contribution ask should be in an increment of 5,000. So 5, 10, 15, or 20. How narrowly do you define new product lines? You know, this really is evaluated on a case-by-case basis. For example, if you're a jewelry store and you sell gold rings, but you want to now sell silver rings, we wouldn't call that a new product line. It would need to be something quite different from what you're already selling. How many contributions will be given out? So we are looking at a minimum of 325 contributions to businesses across Southern Ontario. This presentation will not cover the community activator portion of the program. We will be hosting a community activator information session tomorrow and another one next week on Tuesday. You can register for those via our website. Is there a media kit I'm seeing? There will be a partner package that can be available if you'd like to promote the opportunity to your local businesses. Can the funds be used towards opening a second location? You would need the new location would need to also be located on an eligible main street. So can the application include asks from a variety of categories? So equipment, leasehold improvements, and marketing campaigns? Yes. Can an application support a group of eligible businesses on a main street? This stream is directed at funding individual businesses. Community activator questions were answered. So there will be a session tomorrow and next Tuesday that is specific for the community activator program. Can the receipts be retroactive? Yes, so back to December 1st, 2023. However, you must be able to supply appropriate documentation for those purchases, meaning you'll have to have the receipts or proofs of purchase. Again, this is not taxable. This is a non-repayable contribution, which is different from a defined grant. The first applications will not have greater consideration than ones sent at the close. We're getting some questions about partial funding. There have been instances where partial funding has been awarded through the My Main Street program. It really depends on the proposal included in the application. If a strong case for support is made to cover the cost, the full cost, then it will be awarded. If not, it will not. So questions about the eligibility of a particular project. This would be a situation where we encourage you to reach out to our team directly if you have something that's very, very unique and specific to your business or community. Do successful projects need to meet all of the evaluation categories, i.e. productivity, impact on Main Street jobs? Not necessarily, no. If you are ranking really high in one area, it will not be a detriment that you're not ranking high in all categories. Each area only allocated a certain amount. No, we do have a priority for equal distribution, equal geographic distribution across all of Southern Ontario, which is why we're sort of managing applications with geographically assigned portfolio managers. We have committed to 25% of that funding contribution be issued and awarded to rural business owners, rural applicants. How will you get the payment? So we make our payments by electronic transfer. The process is typically going to be a 50% advance of your total contribution amount. So hypothetically, you've requested $20,000 in funding. You'd be advanced $10,000. You'd have about a month to spend that money. At that point, you would be submitting an interim report with your corresponding documentation, receipts, proofs of purchase. We would verify that interim report. Then you would receive the second installment up to 50%. Following another 30 days to spend those funds, you would submit your final report with any outstanding receipts, proofs of purchase. Right, so some questions about smaller municipalities, hamlets and small rural communities who are not showing up as eligible on the mapping tool. We do encourage you to reach out to our team and we will have a unique consideration applied to that Main Street to determine against a visual inspection if it does qualify or if an exception should be made, and the map will be updated accordingly. So how can we share with our community about this program? We do have a partner package. If you are open to receiving and sharing that with the businesses in your community, you can reach out to our team and we'll send that over to you. It's got some resources for sharing and promoting the opportunity to your local businesses on the main streets. I just want to reiterate again, if you've got a very specific or unique question, unique to your business, the best way to get an answer that's accurate and us to get the information that we need to answer the question would be through our email. What type of equipment is eligible? This could really be a wide range of things. New refrigerator, could be air conditioning, be a stove. Can a group of Main Street businesses apply as a group? So no, we do need an individual application from each business. For clarification, this is a grant. No, this is not a granting program. So the funds that we issue are non-repayable contributions. We do require that you fulfill the commitments of the program. So in order for us to reconcile the claims, we need to have your receipts and verify that those eligible purchases were made. That is all outlined in the funding agreement that requires signature And that is issued to you if you are approved for funding as an applicant. The total amount of non-repayable contributions, so the total is 6.5 million. We will be breaking that out to at least 325 recipients, small businesses. The second intake, we do expect high intake, and we have seen a lot of interest for this program. We are positioned to do a second intake if required, but we are encouraging applicants to apply early in the event that we expend that finite resource of 6.5 million. You need to have estimates and quotes. Yes, in order to present us with a fulsome application, we encourage you to provide quotes for the work that you'd like to be done. Right. So if you would like to know who your assigned portfolio manager is, please email business@mymainstreet.ca. If you have specific questions for your business, please to the same email, submit your question. We will triage you. We really appreciate your attending our session today, your interest in the program, your promotion to the business communities that you serve. We hope very much to help and assist with you with your application processes, and look forward to working with as many of these businesses as we can. All right, so we are going to be going live with a poll in 1 minute. We encourage you to please complete the poll. It's 3 questions. You may have to scroll down to get to that 3rd question. We're always looking to improve these sessions, and your feedback would be greatly appreciated. So again, thank you very much for your participation, your attendance, and we look forward to working with you.